everyone. Welcome to Unleashed. We are going to be talking about 4 ways you can create the life that you deserve. 4 ways you can step into that empowered life that you deserve. And I am so excited that each and every one of you chose to be here today. And Rachel, I think you've got a couple of announcements to give us before I shift into exactly everything that we're going to be covering. Do you want to go ahead and lead that up?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So as we go through today, we're really just looking at, the ways in which we want to silence those internal messages that really sit with us. And we have a lot of things coming at us in this world, right? So we have our internal dialogues, we have our external dialogues, and kind of the impact that the world around us has on our day to day. And so, how do we really begin to shift our relationship to these internal messages and external criticisms? This is really important because this is what allows us to do things like pursue our dreams, and shift into relationships that are healthy and strong. So just by a way of raise of hands, I'm just curious, who here is like down for that? Are you looking for better relationships? Are you ready to like have your dreams and your passion and your purposes really come through to fruition? So good, you're in the right place. And that's it. Like, we are all about radical change. Like, we do not at any time love just talking. We really want to be here with you to give you absolute autonomy to express and explore in this conversation. We'll be offering you opportunities to connect with us. As we already mentioned, you can be using the chat to connect with each other, to cheer each other on, to ask questions. I do want to just reiterate that the recording is happening of this masterclass, and so we're going to share with you all a replay, but that share is also going to be up publicly. So just keep that in mind as we're going along. We're going to do a lot to keep you all, safe in this container, but that information will be there, so you can make choices about video, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that, Rachel. And again, I'm just super excited for this. When I was going over the notes earlier today, I was just getting really pumped up because we have so much great content to share with you. We're going to be talking about the tools to help you shift out of feelings of unworthiness and into a place where you feel your full empowered self. We are going to be talking about how to live fearlessly in your power, purpose, and potential. And each and every one of you has power, purpose, and potential. So what exactly are we going to cover in this masterclass? So number 1, we are going to be sharing with you our personal empowerment journeys. You're going to get to hear our backstories. Some of you probably know me. Some of you probably know Rachel. Maybe a few of you know both of us. But we want to make sure that those of you who aren't familiar with our empowerment journeys, that you get the story right from our lips, so you can know that everything that we are telling you is grounded in our personal experience of going from feeling disempowered to the empowered lives that we have right now. The next thing we're going to be talking about is those tips that we have used, the 4 tips to creating the empowered life that you deserve. We're going to be giving you strategies and practical things that you can do right now to just shift that energy and step into your power. Number 3, we're going to tell you how you can take next steps moving forward. We actually have an online retreat that we're going to be hosting in May, and we're going to tell you about an opportunity to even stretch into more empowerment. This training is going to be packed full of important content, and also we're going to share what next steps could look like. And then we're going to open this up for questions. Q&A coaching is one of our favorite parts, so you are not going to want to miss that at the end. At any time during this training, go ahead and drop a question in the comments, and we will scroll back through I don't want you to forget your question, so just drop it in the comments. And when we go to the end, we'll scroll back through and get it. You can also, if you don't want to put it in the chat box, you can also text Rachel, and she will keep track of some of those questions coming through. And Rachel, if you don't mind putting your number in the chat box so people can reference it, but I'm just going to say it right now if you all have a pen and paper and you want to ask questions that way. Rachel's number is 650-283 5215. So feel free to ask questions at any point. We'll get to them at the end. That is our favorite part. You will not want to miss it. Okay, so I'm going to kick us off and share my personal empowerment story with you. I'm Ashley Easter, if you haven't met me before, and I'm a cult survivor. I grew up in a very cult-like environment. I went to a church that was very strict, very legalistic, and had a lot of rules. In fact, my grandfathers were both pastors in this uber strict denomination called Independent Fundamentalist Baptists. Now, there are about 20 different kinds of Baptist denominations, so I'm not calling out all Baptists. I'm just telling you about my personal experience. But it was very isolating, this church community, and people talk about it being like the bubble. And that should have been a red flag, but this is something that I was born into, grew up into, and was there my whole life. On top of that, I was homeschooled, and homeschooling can be a great choice for some people. For instance, during the pandemic, many families are having to homeschool their children for protection and safety. Other times, Olympic athletes, their parents choose to homeschool them so they can hone their craft and their skills. Sometimes school districts aren't offering what a child needs, so parents will homeschool their children to make sure their learning disabilities are well taken care of. Many reasons to homeschool. But there are subsectors inside the homeschooling movement, and some of them are really problematic. And we were a part of one of those very problematic movements. And that movement was called the patriarchy movement. Now, it is exactly what it sounds like. It was about adherence to the patriarchy. It was this idea that men were to have power and control over women in the home, church, and in society, and that a woman's voice was to be squelched, that a woman's job in the world was to submit to men. Her job was to get married young and have as many babies as possible so we could overtake the country, overtake the world with overpopulation, so we could convince everyone of our beliefs. So that, in a nutshell, is the experience that I grew up in. I really didn't know very many people outside of this homeschooling community or this church. And not surprisingly, I experienced multiple forms of abuse from multiple different people. And I'm not going to get too in detail with that right now because of trigger warnings, but I do want to let you know that that is where I came from. However, something changed, something shifted and turned me into the person that I am right now. And I'm going to tell you what that shift was in a moment, but let me tell you the contrast. So I went from growing up in this cult where my voice was squelched. My voice was really put down for being a woman. But what I'm doing right now, the contrast in my life now is I am a speaker who has spoke in multiple countries. I'm a TV producer. I'm a news pundit. I'm an intuition coach. I'm a writer. I'm a speaker. I'm the founder of a nonprofit called Courage 365, where I help abuse survivors step into their power. I'm also have a thriving coaching business on helping people tap into their intuition, particularly women. And so there's a contrast from when I was disempowered to where I am now. And in just a minute, I'm going to tell you what made the change for me. But before I do, Rachel, tell us your story.
Thanks, Ashley. Oh my gosh. So every time I hear your story, Ashley, I've heard it many times, but every time I'm just like, this is a badass woman, y'all. Like, I feel like we're just going to do like a little hands up. What for Ashley, a little cheers, a little like, hey, y'all, because, think about that experience and the environment. And so often the spaces and places that we grow up in have such a deep resonating impact on who we are. It's no small thing to step out of that. And it's one of the things that I love about you and that I'm inspired by every time we get to hang out and work together. And it resonates with me on a personal level because of my own journey. Though different, we share so much in common. The impact of abuse and trauma Um, it is that it has this collective experience. And while we're not focusing just on women who have experienced trauma or abuse in their lives, the hard fact is that most women will have had some experience with this. For me, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Rachel Grant, and I have been a sexual abuse recovery coach since 2007. I'm also the author of Beyond Surviving, the Final Stage in Recovery from Sexual Abuse. I have an MA in counseling psychology. But the thing that's really important about me, those are just, details. But the thing that's really important about me is that I work every day with men and women who have experienced sexual trauma. And they're really at that place of feeling sick and tired, feeling broken and unfixable, and are ready, to break free and move on with their lives. This, of course, is the work that I do in my life because of my own experience of trauma. I was sexually abused by my grandfather. And at that time in my life, I just remember feeling so stripped of agency, any sense of choice, any belief that I was deserving, really. That for me was a long, 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 hard road to recover from. Man, when we have experience in our lives that really knock that sense of deservingness out of us, everything just gets harder. My capacity to stand up for myself, gone. And as a result of that and many, many other things, I found myself in a 10-year relationship that was pretty abusive. And that just caused me to lose more and more of myself every day. I was becoming this chameleon, like trying to fit myself into being what he wanted. And I just became more and more broken down, really. And in many, many ways, reaching a place where I just felt like I was maybe destined to be miserable. Like this was just how it was going to be. And I especially felt that way because it wasn't like I was just sitting on the couch hanging out in this misery. Like I was trying to do something about it. I was reading books and going to therapy. And it seemed to me that the things that I was doing, they were helping some, but not enough. And so at the end of the day, life was just really excruciating. If we fast forward to today, I've gone on my own healing journey, and I'll say more about some of the things that made a difference for me. Certainly, much of what I'm sharing with you today were key pieces of that for me in healing. And I like to think of myself today as a little bit of a disruptor of traditional models of healing, in creating the Beyond Surviving program and becoming an author and a national speaker and a podcast host. And certainly through my coaching work, I'm really striving every damn day to change the way that we think about and heal from trauma. And I certainly am on a mission to support women in breaking free from the pain of being marginalized and objectified and traumatized and diminished so that we can really fully reclaim our lives. That is the name of the game, y'all. So if you're down for it, if you're up for it, you're in the right place. Aside from that, there's the most amazing lover and partner, a relationship that I thought like this would never, ever, ever be a thing, ever be possible for me. So life has really turned, just as Ashley shared about herself, how life has all of this beautiful capacity to transform. The things that have caused us deep harm and deep shame and limited us, they don't have to. And so we're really going to be here supporting you in exploring that. And really, the only reason why Ashley and I can say that our lives are better is because we've done that full on like empowerment work. We've really leaned into it. So Ashley, can you share a little bit about what that journey looked like for you? What were some of the specific things that you did that really supported you in healing and stepping into your empowered self?
Yes, Rachel, thank you so much for sharing your story. You've helped so many people, and it's tragic what you went through. And also, you have been such a beacon of light, showing people that there is hope and healing. And I'm just honored to be doing this training with you. You're my friend, you're my partner. I feel like you're my soul sister. So, thank you for sharing that. Beautiful, beautiful. Mm. Well, what made the difference? What made the difference from me being disempowered and living this cult like environment into stepping into this empowered woman that I am now, as that I identify as now? It was full on empowerment work. And I want to emphasize the word work there because it wasn't something that just happened overnight. It was something that I had to cultivate, that I had to create in my life. Becoming an empowered woman is not something that just happens. It's something that you design, that you create. And in just a few minutes, we're going to share some of those tools to help you create that empowered life you deserve. But here is how my journey went forward into this healing empowerment space. And this is a question I get asked all the time. And it's like, so you were in a cult and now you're not in a cult. How did you get out of the cult? Okay, I'm about to tell you. So there was a woman who briefly visited our church and she quickly realized, like, this is not for me. Good for her. Picking up on this is kind of cult-like. But she was there long enough for me to get to know her. And she worked at a coffee shop. And while she was at this coffee shop, she invited me to come visit her. I came and visited her, and she introduced me to this guy. And keep in mind, I was a highly religious person at the time. And so he enjoyed talking about theology. And I enjoyed talking about theology. I was the pastor's granddaughter, after all. And he asked me, what do you do? And I said, well, I write a blog about how women should be in a patriarchal system, how they should submit to men. And he was like, what? And I was like, yeah, this is what God says to do. This is how it has to be. And to my shock and surprise, even though he was a person of faith, he believed in equality for women. And this was something that I had never studied deeply or heard in great detail before. And honestly, I was a little upset with him because I believed that women's voices should be suppressed. I believed that men should be the leader of women. And for him to have this outlandish view about equality for women, I was like, what? But I decided that because he kept asking me these questions and kept poking at me and talking about this, I was like, I have to prove him wrong. So we're going to have a debate. And yes, the stereotype is true. Homeschoolers are notoriously good debaters. And to be a good debater, you have to know the other person's side of the argument better than they do. So you can know where their weak points are, so you can kick the legs out from underneath them and win the debate. So in preparation for this debate, I studied equality for women. I studied it from two different perspectives. One was from sort of a faith perspective. From a theological standpoint, it's called egalitarianism. And I studied it from a secular perspective, which is called feminism. And I looked into those things, and the debate didn't have to happen because I realized that my voice was equal to a man's voice, that I can make choices for myself. And that was a more ethical way to live. It was more in line with love and protection of women. And so the debate never had to happen. And that was where I started ideologically changing. So the first thing that changed for me was my mindset, realizing I am worth more than how I am being treated. And then from there, I was still physically living in the cult, but I started doing really rebellious stuff, okay? Like sneaking out and going swing dancing, or going to the movie theater, or listening to Taylor Swift. Lots of very rebellious stuff, but things I wasn't allowed to do in the cult. And eventually I started dating, doing this behind my parents' back. I then met and now married my now husband, Will Easter, and he physically rescued me from the cult and gave me a safe place to continue my work, my healing work, and stepping into my empowered self. So some of the things that I was now safe to do once I left the cult was go to a much better therapist. I was able to experience life coaching, do a lot more personal research, do mentorships, go to empowerment events, and so much more. I really took a lot of time to invest in my own healing and to invest in what it would take to become an empowered woman. And then I decided to take this empowerment work for myself after I saw how well it was working and help other women step into the same thing. So that's when I started my nonprofit, and that's why I have my intuition coaching business, because I've learned these tools that can change my life life, and I know can change yours too. Rachel, what was the tipping point for you? What was that thing that, you stepped into with that empowerment work that changed everything?
So I think that, for me, it really traces back to just an internal kind of way of being. From a very young age, I've always been very curious about, like, why do people do the things they do? Why do I do the things I do? And so this ultimately led me to a place when in my life everything was really crashing down. I was going through a divorce, which, thank God, at the end of the day, like, this was a good thing, that relationship was ending. But I was at a real turning point. I felt like, okay, this is my life up to this date. It's not been great. There's been some shining moments, some beautiful things that have happened along the way. But this deep internal fear that life was just going to kind of keep going on this trajectory of kind of chaos and disempowerment and confusion and feeling worthless and unlovable and insecure, which of course was impacting the kind of relationships that I was having in my life. And so just this critical moment where I was sitting in my new apartment with, like, literally nothing. I had a lamp and a sleeping bag. So no distractions, y'all. And by the way, right, like, when we're trying to avoid the things that are painful, we distract, distract, distract. Well, I couldn't do it. And I just felt this very strong sense of, okay, Rachel, it's time to get your shit together. And so I became obsessed with, like, okay, how do we actually heal from abuse? And that curiosity to answer that question, that deep desire, just set me on this path of exploration. And I mean, I just started reading even more, gobbling up everything that I could, lots and lots and lots of hours in workshops, in therapy. My work in my, doing my master's in counseling psychology was very helpful because I started to understand even myself more deeply. And I spent time in, meditation and reflection. For me, a real key piece of the puzzle was studying neuroscience. And as I came to really understand the neuroscience of trauma and how my brain and nervous system had been injured, and the way that that impacted me and held me back in my life. And I would say also, in these 14 years that I've been working with clients, I mean, they honestly have been some of my best teachers, right? So just learning, and as I hear more and more stories, it keeps me accountable to continue to grow and expand, and keep leaning in to just trying to, like, be my best, most wonderful self more often than not. Not perfectly, not every day, but all of those resources. And I would say community also played a really big part in my healing journey. Being with other women specifically, though some of the men in my life along the way have been extremely, extremely critical in my healing, but just there's something about being in a circle of women and getting real and getting raw and getting to the nitty gritty of things, which is one of the things that I love so much about our retreat last year, and something that I'm so looking forward to, this year, and as we come more and more. So I want that's the wow, okay, where did my mind just go? I'm just having this moment of, like, wanting to take a breath. Yeah, I'm just gonna take a breath, y'all. There's so much that I want you all to know. It's like, okay, how do I pack it all in? But I'm not gonna pack it all in. But we are gonna start to focus on 4 things. So Ashley, tell us a little bit about the empowered self. What does that really mean? What is that all about?
Thank you for that, Rachel. And you're right, there is so much to cover here. And that's why, like, this one event isn't going to be enough. Like, that's why we had to create something else that we'll be telling you more about later, because there's so much that we have to share with you. This session is going to be packed full of information. We're going to be talking about the 4 tips, the 4 keys to creating the empowered life you deserve. And what does it mean to be empowered? It means that you are confident in yourself, that you own your body, that you are ready to step out boldly in your life and make choices that are best for you, that you are guided by your intuition, that your emotions are things that you accept and use to empower you instead of being taken over by your emotions. So, we're going to be giving you 4 keys to creating that empowered life you deserve. And Rachel, she's going to kick us off with such an important tip about befriending your feelings. Rachel, tell us why this is so important to the empowered life.
Thanks, Ashley. Okay, so for everybody listening, I invite you in this moment to just take another little breath, because now, like, you've been absorbing and getting to know us, but now you're going to start to get into like learning some things, and we can get very much into our head, which is a great place to be. I love the head, but I want you to try to also stay in your body. So if you need a breath right now, maybe you need to take a moment to just be with everything that we've even shared so far. Notice what that's been bringing up for you, what's been resonating with you. And by the way, in that moment of just taking a pause to check in, you're beginning to connect with your feelings. Women, we have too long been offered a very limited landscape of feelings that we are allowed to experience and express. And ultimately, this leaves us feeling diminished and disconnected, tepid, insecure. We end up surrendering a lot of times to a world that would sometimes rather we just be silent. Take a moment and just feel into that. Where in your life are you not allowed to feel? Where in your life were you not allowed to feel? Maybe growing up, it wasn't okay to feel your feelings. It wasn't okay to cry or get angry. Maybe you're in a work environment. Ooh, this is a major area of trouble. One of the reasons why Ashley and I are starting to do some trainings around how to create trauma-informed workplaces. The workplace can be such a minefield. Here's the thing. We have to be able to feel our feelings so that we can unleash our voice with intention, with courage. If we are disconnected from our feelings, then being able to stand up for ourselves, being able to voice our needs, like all of that is going to get super, super tricky. So when I'm working with my clients, there are a lot of different ways that I work with them around achieving, more connection with feelings, being able to feel and express. So today I'm going to share with you just one of my favorite strategies to help you feel your feelings. Okay. So what I invite you to do first is breathe. You're going to hear that a lot on today's call. You might get sick of it, but we're going to keep reminding you, because breathing is essential to feeling. If you think about any time when you have been wanting to push away or suppress what you're feeling, what do you immediately do? You tense up, you tighten up everything, you literally stop breathing. And for those of you who might have grown up in environments that were abusive, you might literally stop breathing for seconds at a time chronically. I know, like, I had to learn to become intentional about my breath. I would literally stop at times and be like, oh my gosh, I haven't taken a breath for like 30 seconds. Just in my, I'm working, I'm doing stuff. So when we breathe, it allows us to feel. So let's do it. Take a nice breath. Doesn't have to be a deep breath. Could be. I always recommend in through the nose, out through the mouth. The next step in this process is to validate the feeling. So what's really, really critical is to understand that there's no such thing as a good feeling and a bad feeling. When we hold a framework that there are some feelings that are allowed, that are okay, there are other feelings that are meant to be avoided, it's not all right, it's shameful, it's bad, then whenever we're having a feeling that we've labeled as bad or negative, we're going to suppress it. We're going to try to push it away. We're going to try to avoid it. Feelings are just feelings. In fact, feelings I like to think of as energy. It's really just energy that's coming into your system, into your space to tell you something, to make you lean towards something or lean away from something. And so it's really just being with that energy, not labeling it as bad or wrong. And something that will help you do that in practice is naming the feeling and validating the feeling. I'm angry, and it's okay that I'm angry. I'm sad, and it's okay that I'm sad. When I work with my clients is they often get really great at the naming the feeling piece. Like they're all for it. They're ready. They're like, yeah, I'm going to name my feelings. But then that like validation step of, and it's okay that I'm feeling that. Ooh, that gets a little like there's a little more tension there. But it's the critical piece because it's the part that reminds you this is just a feeling that I'm having. It's okay. It's all right. I don't need to be ashamed of this feeling. So I encourage you in this moment to just check in. What are you feeling? You might be feeling lots of different things. If you want to share the feeling that's present for you in the chat, go for it. And then you're all on mute, so I would encourage you to practice right now saying out loud, I am feeling blank, and it's okay that I'm feeling blank. And just notice what kind of energy shift happens just in that little moment of validation, acceptance. One of the things that David Kessler says is if we don't name it, we cannot feel it. So when we're talking about getting more connected and attuned to ourselves, naming and voicing what is going on for us is a way of achieving that. So much power there. The next step in this process is to scan. Okay, so we often use the words emotions and feelings, but they're interchangeably, but they are actually referring to two different things. So the emotion is your physiological reaction or response. It's often automatic. We sometimes know why we're having a physiological reaction. We sometimes don't. Okay. But being able to scan your body and notice what is happening. Okay, this energy is here, this feeling is here, and what's going on systemically. So I usually start at the top and go down. You can do it however you like, but just taking a little inventory. You don't necessarily have to change anything, but often you will. So like if I get to like, oh, I'm clenching my jaw, I'll often like open up my, open it up a little. Oh my gosh, my shoulders are up by my ears. And then you kind of like relax your shoulders down. But it's about noticing and being with the physiology of the energy that's there. Just being connected. The final step is redirection. So one of the reasons why we suppress and we avoid feelings is because we may have had experiences where we felt very overwhelmed by a feeling. Like we're on this roller coaster ride and it's taken us wherever it wants us to go. We maybe start to spiral and go into really dark spaces or places of despair. And so that fear of overwhelm often causes people to suppress their feelings. So we have to learn how to be good stewards of this energy. Yeah, we don't want to bring that energy in and then cause it to spiral and spiral and spiral. And what's really true is that our feelings are very attached to our thinking. So if I start to feel overwhelmed, I can get curious about, well, what am I thinking right now? And that's going to tell me a little bit about where that overwhelm is coming from. If I'm having thoughts like, I can't handle this. Oh my gosh, this is too much for me. I can't, I'm never going to be able to get out of this situation. Yeah, gonna feel overwhelmed, gonna have that energy present. And so I can begin to redirect my thoughts. And as I redirect and change my thoughts, my feeling energy is going to shift. So one way to redirect the energy of feelings is to change your thinking. I can handle this. I can ask for support. It's going to be okay. I've gone through something like this before, so I know I can, survive it. And then that is going to shift the energy and the feeling that's present. Another way of redirecting the energy of feelings is just through visualization. So you might imagine this feeling of overwhelm and start to give it like some shape. And you might even notice it's in your body somewhere, like, oh, this is like in my stomach, I'm feeling nauseous. And so then you start to visualize that energy as like, oh, kind of like a ball of energy. And then literally imagine it dissipating. And for whatever reason, y'all, every time I do that exercise, I do this with my fingers. I do these little sprinkle hands. For me, it just works. It's like, I'm going to imagine, there goes the feeling, there goes the energy, it's dissipating, it's breaking apart, it's leaving my system. So this 4-step process: breathe so that you can be with the energy, validate, let the energy be so that you can actually feel it, name it, validate it, scan, be connected into your body, what's happening for you with this energy, and then steward the feeling by redirecting it either through visualization or the use of language. This is just a very simple way for you to get more deeply connected with your feelings. Of course, there's more work to do, but even if you just start to do this exercise, and quite honestly, if you only do the validate step of this exercise, you're going to start to see some really big shifts. So from here, as we start to get more connected into our feelings, we want to also get more connected into our body. There's a little bit of that work in this exercise, but now Ashley's going to really talk with you more deeply about how you can come home to your body. Yeah, Ashley.
Yes. I'm so excited to share this tip with you about coming home to your body. But before I do that, I just want to honor each and every one of you who felt comfortable and safe to type in how you're feeling in the moment. I just want to read a couple of these comments that we got in. I feel tired and it's okay to feel tired. Yes. Frustrated that I even have to deal with this shit. Yes, I understand. Thank you. We validate the feelings that you have. I feel annoyed. I feel tired and sad. I'm feeling anxious. All of these things. And I know some of you said your feelings out loud to yourselves. So I want to honor each and every one of you for naming that and then going through that process with Rachel to kind of begin to shift that energy. You are heard here. We validate your emotions. It is okay to feel that way. And also there's a way to shift through. So Rachel, thank you for bringing that tip for shifting those emotions. And I'm going to talk about another way that you can shift your energy, that you can shift your emotions and your feelings. When you are in one state, you can shift to another feeling state. So skill number 2, this is coming home to your body. When we move around in the world, women are so often seen as commodities. We are objectified by the media. We are objectified by popular culture. Sometimes we're objectified by family, friends, and even our partners at times. We can feel really disenfranchised. And the health and beauty standards that are put out there, it can cause us to really feel bad about ourselves when we can't live up to these unrealistic expectations that are placed on women. So I want you to hear this, that you don't have to have experienced abuse. You don't have to have experienced a cult to have experienced these heavy feelings that make you want to shrink inside. Okay. And I think each and every woman has experienced that at some point in her life, just because our culture is so patriarchal. Our culture is in such a place where it is really telling women that they are not good, that they are not okay, that they shouldn't be and can't be powerful. But here's the thing. You are powerful. The power is inside of you. And I want to help you feel that power, because becoming empowered is not just about having the power deep inside of you. Becoming empowered is about showing that and feeling that empowered self so you can make empowered choices and decisions. And one of the ways you can do that quickly and easily is through different body movements, different empowerment poses. So there is an amazing social psychologist named Amy Cuddy, and she actually has an amazing TED Talk that you could go look up on YouTube. Just do, I think, body language, Amy Cuddy in the search bar on YouTube, and you can find this great video. But she has done research about how our body positions communicate to the people who are talking to us, who are experiencing our energy. It communicates something about us. It makes them pick up the energy of us either being empowered or disempowered. It gives an impression to people who are looking at us based on our body posture. And then in turn, that often affects how they respond and react to us. But the opposite is also true. And this is what I think is most important. Our body posture and poses can actually change and shift the energy inside of us and make us feel more powerful simply by shifting the way we move our body. So here's the thing. In the animal kingdom, when an animal is afraid, when an animal is fearful or hiding or a submissive animal, it's going to curl itself inwards. A lot of times it will protect its neck, it will make itself small, and it will just really compress itself. Now, on the opposite side, when an animal is feeling powerful, when an animal is in its strength, it makes bigger movements. You'll see this in lions. So when a lion is afraid, even though it's a powerful animal, it will turn inward, it will protect its neck, and it will get as small as possible. But when that same lion is feeling in its power, it will stretch out. It will let its mane go wild, and it will take up space. And not only does that communicate something to the other animals watching, but it communicates something to the lion itself and how it feels. When it is stretched out, it feels more powerful, and it's more likely to take more powerful actions. Well, guess what? We're part of the animal kingdom too, just a different part. And the same is true for us. It shifts our energy when we take up physical space. Now, in society, you will see all the time, if you go and ride a bus, there will be men sitting all over manspreading. I ride airplanes on the regular, and there will be men sitting beside me who have their legs and arms spread out, and they're just taking up so much space to the point that it's obnoxious and rude, okay? But men are often socialized in society that they deserve to take up space. And so men, part of their job is to realize, part of their work is to realize that, you know what? It's great to take up space, but I also need to think about the space of other people. So oftentimes that's the work men need to do, is to realize it's fine to take up space, but I need to be considerate. Women, on the other hand, are often socialized to make themselves smaller. Women are told, don't spread your legs out, cross your legs, put your hands and arms to yourself, make yourself small. And what this does is it communicates a more submissive posture. It communicates a posture of fear and submissiveness. Instead, what we can do as women is we can begin to stretch out, and that will communicate to others our power and our empowerment, and it will communicate to our bodies and make our feelings and emotions more in alignment with empowerment. And so that's kind of the premise of this idea. Taking up space in your body and not just listening to what society says to make yourself small and turned in, but to realize you as a human woman deserve to take up space. So here is one of my favorite tips. And this is something I call the Wonder Woman pose. This is what Amy Cuddy calls the Wonder Woman pose. And it is, let me tell you, the energy shift is instant. It's amazing. And I use this tip all the time. So it's probably going to be hard for you to see me because I'm on video, but I'm gonna give it a shot. So the Wonder Woman pose, you step back and you step your legs about shoulder width apart. And then you put your hands on your hips, just like this. And then you tilt your head up just a little bit and just feel it. Right now, maybe you want to stand up and give it a try. Maybe you want to sit down, just put your hands on your hips, but just feel how powerful you feel. Just feel that for a moment. Now I want you to put your hands and arms in and make yourself small. Feel how different that feeling is. Feel how when you put your head down and you have your arms in, what a different energy you feel in your body. And then again, step back into that Wonder Woman pose, tip your head up a little bit, and feel that energy shift. Now, I like to use this tool on a regular basis. And here's some of the ways that I like to use this simple tool. Before I go on stage to speak. Before I go on stage to speak, if I'm feeling a little bit nervous, if I'm not feeling my full empowered self, if I'm a little bit anxious, I like to do that Wonder Woman pose before I get on stage. Other times I like to use it is before I go into a tense meeting or with somebody that really kind of makes me feel like I'm shrinking back. I will go into a bathroom stall ahead of time and just do that pose for about 90 seconds, feel into that power, let the energy shift happen. And when I feel powerful like that, I'm able to then embody that energy of empowerment, that energy of I deserve to take up space in this world. And you can do variations of this. You can just kind of have your arms spread out. Maybe you don't do an obnoxious man spread, but kind of spread your legs out just a little bit in a more comfortable position than turning them in and crossing your legs. But doing this not only communicates to other people that this is a fucking powerful woman, but it also communicates to your body the same thing. So that is one of my favorite tips. It's something super practical. And you can do variations of this, like just putting your hands on your hips when people don't even know what you're doing. But if you're going to do the full pose, I recommend going into the bathroom stall because people might look at you a little strange. But anyway, that is one of my favorite tips for stepping into empowerment and really feeling that shift instantly. Rachel, you are next up with our third tip on taking charge of our stress response system. And I love how each and every one of these just flow so seamlessly into each other because this one, it's perfect to go next.
Thanks, Ashley. So it's been fun in chat. Everybody's been naming their kind of like favorite superheroes. And like I gave them a little challenge to come up with their own superhero names. So now you can add that, like I'm standing, I'm in the posture as the defender, Nicole says. And yeah, keep playing with that, y'all. But it is, I've used that tool and it's so true. It just creates this immediate energy shift. And one of the things that, as we start to think about other strategies towards empowerment, the next piece here, the next key is really being able to take charge of your stress response system. So one of the reasons why we collapse, one of the reasons why we make ourselves small, and maybe we go out into the world. Somebody here kind of shared in the chat, like this sense of like, whenever I go out into the world, I'm constantly doing that, making myself small and little. So that can sometimes be tied to our nervous system. We are in a place of feeling diminished. We are in a place of feeling overwhelmed by everything. We're in a place of dysregulation. And that makes showing up in the world in a really empowered way very difficult. So what unfortunately is true is that very few women who have walked this earth have done so without experiencing some type of trauma, one form or another. So I'm talking very broadly. Trauma is really in the eyes of the beholder. So that can be a medical procedure, that can be a car accident, that can be the loss of a loved one, a loss of a child, certainly in the context of a physical, emotional, verbal, sexual abuse, spiritual abuse, financial abuse, right? So whenever we, are going through our life as trauma is happening, the brain and the body stress response system is doing its work to keep us alive. And it can get out of whack. It can get a little clunky. It can get a little clogged up. And when we are in a state of nervous system dysregulation, it can make it profoundly difficult to do things like make powerful decisions, remain present, set boundaries, or really just show up as our best selves. So ultimately, we have to know how to take charge of our stress response system so we can remain in our adult, empowered, present day self. So we don't shrink, we don't shy away. We can be liberated from these clutches of activation and reactivity. So, what is really true is that I could do a 2-hour training on nervous system regulation to really get you all into the deep understanding of the neuroscience of trauma, really the different parts that are at play in the brain and in the nervous system. And we just don't have time for that today. Okay, this is something I'm going to really dive much more deeply into during our Emerge retreat. But for today, what I'm going to give you is just one of my favorite, like quick and easy, grab it out of your back pocket system regulation tools. So one of the first things you have to be able to do is notice that you're activated. Okay, like can you recognize that you're starting to go into a state of dysregulation? So some clues that might be happening for you is that your breathing changes. So that little tracking, for those of you who were a little earlier, the tracking with like, okay, just I'm breathing in, I raise my hand, I breathe out, I lower my hand, just to connect with your breath. And if your hand's going like up and down, up and down, up and down, then you're in a state of activation. Your system is starting to go into like a freeze, fight, flight mode to try to figure out like how to survive. And so it's starting to pump adrenaline into your system, get the breath going, get oxygen to your muscles so that you can take care of you. Holding breath can also be a sign. So it's tricky that way, right? But if your breath in any way is dysregulated, then your system is going there. Our muscles will sometimes tighten. Sometimes you'll start to get kind of like a blurry gaze, like you can't fully focus. You might feel a real strong sense of heaviness or feeling frozen. You might feel a real strong sense of anxiety, like I want to run, I want to get away. Ultimately, what's really true is that your system can either escalate or regulate. And so we need to have a really broad toolkit for system regulation. Because if we continue to escalate and we get more and more and more upset, what that is doing is creating a lot of cortisol into your system. It creates a lot of stress. And this can ultimately manifest in things like headaches, insomnia, exhaustion, chronic fatigue, chronic illness. And so we need a really strong, healthy nervous system to go out in the world and kick ass. Like if we're trying to go out into the world and we're trying to manage all of that, alongside show up in a meeting and speak my mind, alongside be, here in my relationship and set the boundaries that I need to set, man, like it's just exhausting. And so by learning how to heal your nervous system, learning how to regulate your nervous system, you'll reclaim so much of that energy. Okay. Simple, easy tool for beginning to regulate when you start to notice that you're escalating. Yawn. Yawn. I know I was going to get somebody. I got Ashley. Who else? Isn't it amazing? The brain, like, yeah, got you. Okay, good. It's so much fun. Isn't that amazing? Like just hearing the word yawn, it sets the brain off on a completely different tangent. It's like, I don't know what else was happening before, but now I'm yawning, right? And you can also add in stretching with that. I was saying a little earlier, like as soon as we stretch, we feel our body, we get present, we drop in. Faking a yawn works. Okay, so you can start saying the word yawn and you'll often end up yawning, but you can also just fake it. And then your body will start, okay, hold on. This is a hard one to teach. Oh my goodness, I start to yawn. Okay, right? And so then, yeah. And, this is one of the things I think, Ashley and I really want you all to know, that healing takes time, healing takes work, healing takes effort. Healing can also be fun. Like, it can be a process of exploration and curiosity. And so I hope you'll take that just little bitty tidbit and tool and use it in your day to day to keep helping your system regulate, and really settle in. The more settled we are, the more system regulation we have, the more that we can really show up powerfully. So I'm just going to check in. Ashley, do we have anything from chat that we want to touch base on or check in about before we move on? I love all these superhero names that you all are sharing.
Yes.
Amazing. Defender, yes. Good.
Yes, people were saying that they yawned, healing forever. Making myself small was such a habit because of bullying. Thank you so much, Ashley and Rachel, for a light bulb moment. Awesome. It's making so much sense. Great yawning right now. Lots of hugs going on. Yes, yes. People are super engaged.
Great. Good. Okay. So before we get to the final skill, which Ashley's going to be sharing with you, I want to take a moment to give you all a little riddle. And if you want to take a crack at answering the riddle, you can put your answer in the chat. So I want you to imagine that there are 5 birds sitting on a branch. And 4 of them have made a decision to jump off the branch and fly. How many birds are now left on the branch? What's your answer? What do you think? Yes. I love people are using the private answer for this. Like, I don't want to. Oh, notice that. Notice the immediate of like, I don't want to get wrong. I don't know if I want to be right. Okay.
I'm seeing in the chat here, there's 1 scared fledgling, 5, 1, all of them, 0, 5.
Yeah. I love this riddle because a lot of times when I heard this riddle for the first time, said 1, there's 1 left on the branch. And the person who was taking me through this said, no, there are 5. There are 5 birds still sitting on that branch. Just because 4 of those birds had a thought or even made a decision to jump off doesn't mean they actually did it. And it's the same for us. We can often decide, okay, I am going to go for it. I'm going to do what it takes for me to live an empowered life. And then we kind of fall into this trap. Like, well, I made the decision, so I'm done. If only, I so wish, y'all. But what we want to do is help you do more than just decide for things to be different. We want to help you create breakthroughs that will actually make living the life that you want to live a reality. So we want to talk with you just a little bit about the Emerge, Unleash Your Empowered Self Women's Weekend that's coming up May 7th through 9th. We hope you will take some time to hear us and to consider this opportunity. As we've mentioned, oh my gosh, there are like 100 things going on as Ashley's talking, as I'm talking. Oh, I want to talk about that. Oh, wait, what about this piece? And just the reality is this masterclass is not going to do everything to help you overcome those feelings of unworthiness, to shut down that inner mind chatter that limits you, to really help you fully unlock your voice. It would be disingenuous for us to say that. We are giving you solid tools that are going to take you very, very far, but we need more time. And so that's why we created this 3-day virtual experience that is especially designed to help women become more fully embodied.
Yes. So I'm going to get into the last tip in just a minute, and it's a good one. So you're going to want to hang on for it. This is one that I get so much good feedback from. You're going to enjoy it. But I would like to also share some things about Emerge, because this Emerge virtual retreat is such a powerful, full immersion experience. This is not the type of thing where you just sit there and have somebody talk to you. We're actually going to be opening up the Zoom rooms and having people talk to each other. It's going to be super interactive. It's going to be something that gets your body moving, your mind moving, and shifts in your spirit. It is a full immersion experience. And I was on a podcast recording yesterday. And by the way, it's going to be coming out on the 15th. So that'll be fun. But the woman who was hosting the podcast, she was our videographer and photographer at last week's event, or at last year's event. And as the videographer and photographer, not even somebody who was participating in the event, she said she had such a transformational experience for herself, and that it was the most engaging and body movement, not just lecture style event that she had ever seen. And that's really what we prioritize in our events. This is not just sitting here listening to talking. This is like us actually getting in, doing the work, and having fun together. This is not like any other women's retreat that you have experienced. And I've been to some women's conferences and events, and a lot of them just sucked. They were really fluffy, and it was like, here, let's drink our tea and eat our cookies and talk about nothing and meaninglessness stuff. That is not what we do here. This is about you stepping into your full empowered self and us giving you the tips and tools to really do that. And so what I would like to do, if it's okay with you, is to show you the page on our website a little bit about Emerge. And Rachel, if you want to, do you want to give us a share screen here so I can kind of talk through some of the details?
Yeah, give me just 1 second to pull that up.
Okay, awesome. So what we're going to be doing at Emerge is really unveiling a lot of secrets to understanding your body and your brain, because empowerment is an inside job. It's not just setting up an external environment. It is actually something where you are changing from the inside out, and then you see that empowerment on the outside. So we're going to be getting deep into that. We're going to be working on unlocking the inner guidance system so you can follow your path to freedom and success. We're going to be building on what we started today, because right here, these tools can change your life that we taught you today. Like if you actually use them and integrate them, and remember, you have to use them, they can change your life. And also, there are so many other things where we can dive deeper. We just gave you like the tip of the iceberg, and at Emerge, we go so much further in. Rachel, are you having any luck with the share screen?
Yes, I got it now. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Okay, can everybody see that? Type yes in the comments if you can. This is our page about Emerge, and you can go and check it out after here, just going to theemergeretreat.com. But basically, as you scroll through here, you'll see that we're doing this virtual event. You're going to understand the body, brain, stress response system. We're going to go into that so you can really step into your power and connect with yourself. So many times we are disconnected with ourselves. You can learn to unlock your inner guidance system. We're going to be talking about intuition. One of my intuition mastery students, Nicole, she's actually here and she's been commenting in the comments. Hey, Nicole, she knows about the intuition work I do, and I'm going to be bringing some of that to this retreat. It's going to be so much fun. And then develop a deep capacity to feel all the feelings. So you don't feel flooded and overwhelmed by your feelings, but so you feel empowered, and so you can guide and direct your feelings. So like I said, this is a full immersion experience for your body, mind, and spirit. This is not a dull, boring retreat or lecture where you just sit and listen. Rachel, you've got a couple other things to share.
Yeah, when Ashley and I came together, I guess it was 2 years ago, and started to envision, doing a retreat, which, by the way, there's a great story behind that, which if we have time in the Q&A, ask us and we'll share with you how this even came to be a thing. It's a pretty good story. We were brainstorming, well, so what do we want to call this event? What is it all about? And we ultimately landed on this word emerge, because it's not just about information. It's really much more about you being able to experience really important shifts. We want to disrupt your current patterns. We want to shake it up a little bit and really ultimately free you from these ingrained thought patterns and beliefs that are holding you back. So that ultimately you can step into a bigger vision of yourself and vision for your life. So our two really big and bold promises that we make to you is that the person who comes to emerge is not going to be the same person who's going to be leaving the retreat. Is it going to be a little uncomfortable? Are we going to push you out of your comfort zone? Yes. Are we going to do that with care and love and safety? Yes. Ultimately, you are going to be transformed from the kind of person who is, I mean, let's get real about it, creating the current life that you have that you're dissatisfied with, to being the kind of person that is living the life that you truly want. And what we promise you is that that vision is really possible. It's absolutely doable, and we are going to be there to support you in making sure that it happens. The second promise that we want to make to you is that you will leave the retreat really knowing exactly what to do to unleash your empowered self. Okay, you got to get off the branch, y'all. Okay, we're going to help you with insight. We're going to help you with awareness. We're going to help you attune to yourself and get in your body. And then we're going to help you fly. Get off the branch, get into action, take really important steps so you can bring into reality the things that you actually really want for yourself. So if you're somebody who is really highly motivated to create a more empowered life, and you just don't know quite yet how to get there, like you've been working at it, you have some pieces of the puzzle, but you know there's something that's just like, hey, I need something else. I need some mentorship. I need some guidance to get there. And what Ashley and I are offering is resonating with you, then I really want you to consider this as an opportunity and experience that you can share with us. And we have a little treat for you. Ashley, show them. I'm so excited about this.
All right. I've got a video that I'm going to show you from last year. So you can get just a little taste. And then we're going to, in just a few minutes, get into the last tip. But you're going to enjoy this. You're going to enjoy this so much. Brush that fear away. You can do it fast.
Hey, I'm Rachel.
And I'm Ashley.
And we are the founders of Emerge.
What I loved about the Emerge retreat is getting a group of women together that are like-minded, and specifically to bring us to a place where we could grow together, but also individually. And it really tapped into some things that I wouldn't normally do on my own. So having us all come together and look at some of the things that happen in our lives, and then how to tap into some of the feelings around that to enable us to grow.
Emerge is really just about jumping into all of your feelings, understanding your stress response system, getting into the nitty-gritty of your intuition, and really discovering what it takes to live a fully embodied life as that empowered woman. We want to help women who are stuck, who maybe feel like their life isn't going anywhere. Maybe they're stuck in pain. Maybe there is difficulty with relationships. Maybe it's a past trauma that they've experienced, and we have experienced those things too. What we have found is that these tools that we use work. They have changed our lives. And so we want to share them with the women who attend Emerge so their lives can be changed as well.
If you're looking to come out of your shell or just have a different experience, just receive breakthrough, the Emerge retreat would be a great opportunity.
Tapping into my intuition has been very eye-opening for me. I've always had that internal voice, and now I feel so much more attuned to it. It brings such a feeling of capability to be able to trust myself in this way.
Yes, we want to teach and we want to help you understand what's going on for you and these concepts like the neuroscience of trauma and your intuition, but without action, nothing changes. We are so committed that the woman who walks into the room will not be the same woman who walks out.
Did you guys like that? We had so much fun at last year's retreat, and we're bringing it online because we want to be COVID safe. But I've got some really great things to share with you. And this is not going to, like I said, this is not going to be just like a boring Zoom webinar. Like, we are full embodied with this, even though we're going to be doing it virtually. So at Emerge, you're going to receive tangible strategies and step-by-step tools to take you from feeling disempowered to your empowered self, and then having a plan you can use to move forward. So this is not just an event where you go for 3 days and you have like a cool transformational experience, but then you leave it there. No, we actually give you tools to really transform your life. And you know, we're going to be sharing this event with women like you, who we know are conscious women who care about the world, who care about each other, and also women who are go-getters. So that's the kind of sisterhood you are going to be coming into with this retreat. And so, Rachel, if you don't mind going ahead and sharing the screen again. So the way you can sign up for this is you can go to theemergeretreat.com. You can see that website up there. There's also a link that we popped in the chat, and it's super easy to register. And so all you have to do is click that register now button. And what you'll see is registration. It takes only like 1 minute to fill out, maybe even less. Just put your address in, your card number, name, those types of things. And right now we are running an early bird special. It is only $450 for the weekend. That's going to be $100 off from regular price, which will be $555. And we are keeping this open, this early bird special open until the 16th. So you have time to check your schedule and get everything worked out. But it's super easy to register. And for the next couple of days until the 16th, you are going to be able to get $100 off at that $450 price. And obviously it's worth more than the $550 is worth more than the $450 because you get two coaches who are going to be going through this experience with you. You're also going to be getting a box shipped to you. It's a goodie box that's going to have different tools, gifts, surprises, resources in it. So that's going to be sent physically to your door. There's going to be a mix of lectures and physical movements and activity group activity, lots of time for relaxation and self-care. Of course, the high vibe sisterhood is going to be involved. Coaching from Rachel and I. Again, you're getting two coaches that are known across the country. We're going to be doing subversive art practices. So that is going to be so fun for you to realize how art can help you step into your empowered self. We have a sound healing performance. And oh my gosh, last year, listening to that sound healing, let me just tell you, the energy just completely shifted. It was so amazing. And then, of course, there's going to be meditations and grounding and so many surprises that I'm not even going to tell you, especially in that goodie box. You're going to be excited when you open that up. The other thing I want to tell you is, though we're doing this a COVID safe way, because we realize not everybody has been able to make decisions to keep themselves safe, and things are kind of up in the air, it's still going to be a very interactive experience, like I said. And also, we are suggesting that if you have some COVID safe practices, maybe people that you feel quarantine safe with, that you actually set up a time with a girlfriend and both of you do the retreat together and go through this program. Maybe they come to your house or you go to theirs, or maybe you decide to get an Airbnb or a hotel and kind of make a whole girls' weekend out of it. We are going to be giving you all these tips to make this a fully embodied experience. And just Rachel has one more note before I get into our fourth tip, which I'm really excited to share with you.
Yes, I think it's really been a wonderful challenge for Ashley and I to think about this emerge experience online, and how do we create the same level of connection and community and sisterhood, even though we will be in these different places. So we have our eyes on that. And by way of the goodie box and a lot of other things that we're going to be doing to make sure that you, even if you're in your own space, still feel like you're right in there with us. And then next year, we'll hopefully see you in person, right? And so I want to just name that for those of you who decide to jump on this opportunity and sign up before midnight tomorrow, you are going to receive a special bonus laser coaching session after the retreat that's really going to help you fully integrate what you've learned and make sure that you're clear. You've removed all of the obstacles that are in your way so you can really step forward in implementing, whatever it is that you've become inspired to take action to do in your life. We are calling in 24 women and we already have 6 women, one of them who attended the retreat last year, who said, yes, I'm in again. I'm coming back. I loved it so much. Got to do it again. And so we only have room for 18 more women. So there are a lot of reasons to jump on registering within the next couple of days. You have this opportunity to get a laser coaching session when you register before midnight tomorrow. You have the early bird option up through next Friday, and then the price goes up. And you want to make sure you get one of those spots. So this is a moment to just check in and start to see what's happening in your body. How are you feeling? There's no pressure here. This is an invitation. It's an opportunity. If it's a good fit for you, we so hope that you will say yes and come join us. And we want to share with you just a little bit from some of the other women who attended Emerge, just a little bit more about what they had to say, and their experiences and what they took away from their time with us. Ashley, anything more you want to say there before you get into our final tip for today?
Yes. Well, first of all, are you able to see the slide that popped up here
Yes.
with some of the testimonials?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Awesome. These are such beautiful women who joined us. They had such transformational experiences, and it was just so much fun being able to share space with them. And yeah, if you enjoyed today, like Emerge is like this on steroids. So all right. Let's get into tip number 4. And I'm super excited to share this with you. It is one of my absolute favorite tips for stepping into your empowered self. And that is the tip of accessing your inner guidance system, AKA your intuition. So many times in society, I have heard this over and over in my own life, and you probably have heard it a time or two as well. Oh, women are so emotional. They're not connected to logic. Men are the logical ones. Women are just, overreacting to stuff. And our emotions, our feelings are often shoved down and seen as lesser than quote unquote logic. But I'm here to tell you that we do have emotions and feelings, and we also have intuition. And intuition can often show itself through our emotions and feelings. And your intuition is actually very, very wise. And I believe that there's actually a plot in the patriarchy. And when I say patriarchy, I do not mean all men. I mean a system that favors men over women. And some men are hurt by the patriarchy too. So let me just say that. But I believe that there's a plot in the patriarchy to keep women small by telling them that they're intuition is not valid, because if women use their intuition as their guidance system for their life, we wouldn't be able to be kept down. We would be able to step into our full power, and we would be able to achieve that equality space that we all deserve. So I love to talk about intuition because I really believe that this is our hidden superpower. And even though people will tell you, you can't trust yourself, you can't trust your gut, you can and you should. And I want to share with you just a little bit of the science behind it quickly, because I want you to know why you can trust it. And when you know why you can trust your intuition, it's a lot easier to actually trust it. So in a very simplified term, and I actually have a 6-week course that we talk about tapping into your intuition. So I'm just going to simplify it for here and now. Basically, the way it works in your brain is you have two sides of your brain, the left side of your brain and the right side of your brain. The left side of your brain is very analytical. It's very data driven. It's a lot slower than the right side of your brain. The right side of your brain is connected to your subconscious. The right side of your brain is more creative, and it's really very instinctual. Now, when you're thinking about solving a math problem, I'm just going to use this as an example. You will have to think back to the time in school where you learned how to solve that math problem. You have to then recall all the steps to solve the math problem. You have to then work the math problem, and then you get to the answer, and you are consciously aware of that. And that's happening in the left side of your brain. But here's the thing. Sometimes you might have forgotten a step, or you might have thought you got all the steps right, but like you flipped the 1 and the 2 around, or something like that. You got something off, and even though you remembered all the steps, you did a little error and your answer doesn't come out right. That's kind of how your logical mind works. Sometimes it can be super useful and it's very valuable, and we should use our logical brain. But what happens for our intuition is that it is housed in the right side of our brain, the subconscious side of our brain, and it goes through a similar analytical process, but it has access to so much more data, so much more information than the logical side of your brain, and it is a lot more accurate. Studies are showing that your intuition is so much more accurate than you trying to figure out a process through your logical side of your brain. So it's actually our superpower if we can tap in and use intuition. And I have so many different intuition tools, and I'm going to be teaching you more of those inside Emerge. But I want to share one of my very favorite intuition tools. This is a way for you to easily access your subconscious mind, where your intuition is housed, and get answers from your intuition. And we're going to be doing this through the process of a guided meditation visualization. So I'm just going to go ahead and lead you through a beautiful meditation where you are going to get into a calm, relaxed state where it's easier to access your subconscious mind. Then you are going to ask your intuition, ask your higher self questions, and listen for those responses to pop up. Okay, so I'm going to guide you through this beautiful practice. And Rachel, is there a way for you to turn on some background music for us so we can get all settled in? Thank you. All right. Now, I'm wondering, when I'm speaking, are you all still able to hear the music, or does it cut out when I'm speaking? Okay, sounds like it's good. Okay. All right, well, I'm just going to move forward with this visualization meditation so you can access your intuition in this moment. All right, take a moment to center yourself. Just get into a comfortable position. It's going to be so much easier to relax if you are in a comfortable way. Maybe you need to cross or uncross your legs, shift around a little bit just to really relax. And then as you feel comfortable, either close your eyes or soften your gaze and maybe look at one point on the floor so there's no distractions. And now I want to invite you to relax your body. Take a deep breath in and hold it and let it out slowly. In and out. In and out. I want you to imagine with me that there is a beam of light coming out of your forehead, pointing up towards the sky. Begin to follow this light and feel as your body begins to ascend higher and higher. Look back down and see your house getting smaller and smaller. Soon you are so high above that you're able to see the whole town or city below you. Then your country and continent. As the beam of light guides you on, you reach the soft quietness of outer space. You can see the curvature of the earth with its blue and green and white clouds swirling around it. You look back up and see your light has brought you among the stars in the calm coolness of outer space. Then you see another beam of light up ahead. This one has a soft purple glow. As you come closer, the light begins to intersect. Your light begins to intersect with this lavender beam, and you begin to follow it back down to earth. But instead of leading you to your home, it guides you to the most beautiful place on earth. As your feet touch the ground, you look around and notice the vibrant colors, the landscape, the warm breeze, the foliage. You feel completely at peace. Up ahead, you see a being approaching you. As they come closer, you recognize yourself in them. This is your future self, your higher self. Take in for a moment their appearance and energy. As you see yourself in them, notice some slight differences. They walk with a sort of unmatched confidence. Their face and skin are outshined only by their exuberant smile. The energy of fully embodied happiness, love, and calm assurance glows from them. As they approach, you can tell they are delighted to see you. They take your hand and begin to guide you to a small shaded area. They motion for you to sit beside them on a large sun-bathed rock. As you sit down and feel the power of their presence, you begin to ask them questions and listen for their answers. The first question you ask is, How did you become so peaceful and happy? Listen now. What's the immediate response your body gives? Is it an image, a word, a feeling, a deep sense of knowing? How did you become so peaceful and happy? You ask another question. This time you say, what steps must I become to be more like you, higher self? Just see what naturally comes up. Don't judge it. What words of affirmation do I most need to hear from you right now? You begin to sense your time with them is coming to an end, and they smile at you once more as you begin to head back to the beam of purple light. You start to ascend into the sky again, drifting up and up until you are again among the stars. The white light from your forehead returns and guides you back to Earth in a flash. You see your city becomes closer and closer. As you move forward, following this beam of light, you are now eased back into your home in the room where you are sitting. I'd like to invite you to feel back into the room, wiggle your fingers and toes, and when you're ready, open your eyes. I hope you enjoyed that meditation, and I would love for you to write in the chat box anything that came up for you, any words of wisdom from your intuition, any feelings that came up. Just going to give you a second to acclimate again, and maybe put in the comments what message you got from your intuition, from your higher self. Rachel says, you are unstoppable. Yes, yes. Peace, and I'm proud of the work you're doing. Thank you, Chris. That's beautiful. Let go. Thank you, Becky. Yes, yes. Keep doing the work. Absolutely, absolutely. That is so powerful. And I know there'll be more comments filtering in. Meditation like this is so powerful. Ooh, another one. You are not crazy. Yes, yes. See these affirmations? When you listen to this, imagine the kind of life you can live when you are completely connected to your intuition and you are getting messages like this regularly. This is how you step into your empowered self. And I'd like to share a quick testimonial just before we jump into our Q&A. So be sure to drop any questions that you have in the chat box now or send Rachel a text. But this is a quick testimonial I wanted to share from Mindy. She experienced the Emerge retreat in 2020. We did this live just before the pandemic hit. And she was really stuck in an overwhelmed place in her life. And during Emerge, she learned to fully embody the highest version of her empowered self. And we have watched her transformation over the last year, and it's fantastic. She says, going to the Emerge retreat was a catalyst for me to pursuing my dreams and creating a better life for myself, even amidst the challenges of 2020. In 1 year after attending, staying connected and practicing what I learned, my life has transformed and become better in every area I feel more connected to myself and spend more time nurturing myself. I started a doula business that is thriving. I feel more balanced in motherhood. I feel supported in my community of women, and I'm enjoying my relationship with my husband more. Guys, intuition, coming home to your body, claiming your stress response system, and all the tips we shared today, again, are just the tip of the iceberg of what we teach inside Emerge. And our goal is to bring a transformation to your life, to bring you clarity and steps forward so you can have a transformation like Mindy's. Now, the long-awaited Q&A coaching session. Rachel, I'm going to bring you back on, and why don't you lead us into this? I am super, super excited.
Awesome. I want to just present some of the things that have been being shared in chat. It's really beautiful to see what you all are connecting to. Renew, release. Oh my goodness, keep going. I am safe. All these things, never give up. You can do it. Let joy back in. Yes, ladies. So by the way, one of the things I always say with my clients is if you hear something that you love, steal it, take it. Make it your own too. So I know that you've been here in community. So if you need to take a little stretch, if you need to take a little bio break, if you need to move on with your day, awesome. All those things are great. Take good care of you. I'm going to put the link for signing up for the Emerge retreat one more time here in chat. We will also be sending you some follow-up information. We'll send you a link to the replay later tonight after we do all of our fancy video editing. You'll also get an email tomorrow with more information. Just remember that you have until midnight tomorrow to sign up to get that laser coaching, and you have until February, I went back in time, Ashley, until the 16th of April to get that early bird pricing. So if your time with us has come to an end, we thank you. We send our blessings to you, and thank you so much for joining us. But Ashley and I are going to stick around for a little while, and we're going to answer some questions. So I have a couple that came through via text and a little bit earlier in the chat. And so we'll start there, but this is a great time to go ahead and start dropping in your questions. Again, I'll put my number here again, so it's a little bit closer to where we are in the chat. So if you want to text me instead of using the chat. Okay, so one of the things that was coming up through the dialogue was the spaces in which people have a hard time asking for support. Anybody here relate? Are you a yes for have a hard time asking for support? Yeah, and I think that very much ties into the work that we're doing today around empowerment. It also has to do with being in touch with your feelings and your needs and your wants. If we don't know what we feel, if we don't know what we want, then we sure as hell can't ask for it. If we have a lot of system dysregulation, then we're going to be highly anxious and activated. And so all of those kind of fears and anxieties are going to overwhelm the system and stop you and shut you down from being able to ask for support. What's really true, I think, is that all of us have had negative experiences of asking for support. Times when we have reached out and we were maybe blown off. We were maybe told, what's the big deal? Get over it already. And so we become reticent. And so what I find in my own journey around being able to ask for support, I had to first start with challenging that mindset and begin to look at the other end of that spectrum, to begin noticing and taking more account of the times when I had asked for support and there was something that was gained, something positive that came about as a result of that. So that would be kind of my first tip along that is, honor and respect the experiences that you've had that have caused you to struggle in this area. Don't shame yourself. Don't blame yourself for that. And begin to get curious about what's to gain, what could be some of the benefits. Can I think of times in my life where asking for support actually led to something positive, a good outcome? Ashley, you want to add anything there?
That was beautiful. And it's a great question. I love what you said, Rachel. I would add that sometimes the reason we don't feel comfortable asking for support is because we've had a bad experience. And other times we don't feel comfortable asking for support because we don't feel we're worthy of it. Or we are so focused on helping other people that we feel like, oh, I don't want to bother somebody with my troubles because I just want to focus on others. And I want you to look inside and realize how worthy you are. Maybe you just went through this meditation, you got some empowering words from your intuition. I want you to trust and believe that and know that you deserve support. And everybody here, I mean, Rachel has asked for support. I have asked for support. Every single person here deserves that support. So knowing in your soul that you deserve it, that can be a step to reaching out and asking for something. So yeah.
Definitely. Lisa, is there support if you've never been on Facebook or taken a computer course before? So I'm curious about this question. I think I want to know a little bit more. Maybe you're thinking about where do you find resources for learning? And so if I'm on track there, maybe you can just ping me one more time there in the chat and make sure we're clear about what your question is. Thank you, Bonnie. Sometimes asking for support means you have to actually do something to fix whatever's going on. Yes, that's true. Like, right, you can like getting curious about the reasons why I avoid asking for support, like what scares me about that. What do I believe that that's going to call upon me for? That can be another way of getting and accessing those belief systems, those limiting belief systems that are causing you to miss out on support. I, in no way, shape, or form would be here talking with you all if I had not gotten better, proficient, courageous about asking for support. You can't stop me now. I'm unstoppable. That's what my higher self said, and she's right about it. Definitely in this area. Awesome. We also had a question about just how are we going to, in Emerge, create more connection? Like, can we break that down a little bit? So one of the things I want you all to know is that you can go to the website, the emergeretreat.com, and you can click at the top where it says schedule. And that can give you a little bit of a better sense of what you're going to be experiencing. As we've been creating the retreat, thinking about what did we do really well in person and how do we translate that to a virtual experience. So Ashley was talking a little bit earlier about there are some opportunities to go in with a friend, right? And create so that you have at least like one person there with you where you're kind of connecting. I'm flying out to North Carolina for that very reason. Ashley and I are going to be in the same space. And I think that just the fact that she and I are going to be next to each other physically is going to really impact just how it comes through and the ways in which we can guide and teach. We're still going to do things like breakouts and having you all connecting with each other one-on-one. So you're not just going to be sitting and just listening and receiving information all day. Those are some of the things that come to mind for me, Ashley. Anything you would add to that as far as what we're going to be doing to really create community and connection?
Yeah. So Rachel, like you said, I think if introverts and extroverts experience events in different ways. So different people are going to want different levels of connection, but there are so many options for you to connect, to get as much connection as you want from this retreat. So suggestions would be, yes, you could have a girlfriend go through this with you, whether you create your own COVID safe girls retreat where you go to an Airbnb together, or they come to your house, you go to theirs. Or it could be the type of thing where, maybe you do it with not just a friend, but maybe it's your mom or your sister or your daughter, something like that. So that is an opportunity, and we encourage that. But just what we are going to be offering is, like Rachel said, the breakout rooms, but we are doing things that are so much in your body that allows you to feel connected to people. Again, this setup is a little bit different today, where we're not having all the video screens on, we're not having the voices of everybody here, but we're going to be opening up for your voices to connect with not only Rachel and I, but with each other in smaller group settings. So you're going to have that voice to voice, you're going to have that face to face via the video. And there's going to be so many somatic body movements that you're really going to feel into it and really get into the energy of the experience. That is something that we've built into this. So yeah, I hope that answers your question, but we are being very intentional about making this a submersive experience.
Indeed. Awesome. Thank you for that question. It's something that we are definitely keeping our eye on because it matters, right? We know it won't be exactly the same as what it was like for the in-person, but we're going to do our damnedest to make it really wonderful. Lisa, thank you for saying a little bit more about coming out of isolation in a domestic violence situation and using computers and finding new things, like discovering new, tools and resources. So one of my favorite places to learn is YouTube. I mean, that is like free university these days. You can find everything. So I would encourage you to pop on there. Depending on the sorts of skills that you're wanting to build. If you're wanting to build business skills, oftentimes there are nonprofits. Libraries are a really great place to go. Some of them are starting to open now, and sit down with a local librarian and they'll kind of talk you through and show you lots of things. So those are some ideas for how you can start to acquire some of those tools and get hip to technology. It is a learning curve. I still these days, like I'm starting to have those moments, Ashley, where I'm like, I'm starting to feel like I don't actually get it anymore. Like I'm really behind. Like my younger friends are like, Rachel, if you just do the blah, 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 blah. I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like the TikTok thing.
Right.
All right.
Yes, those are great ideas. And I would say that there's an app that I like. It's easy to use. It's called the Meetup app. I think just Meetup. And it tells you about local community events that are happening around you. And you could probably find some that are like outside, socially distant, that type of thing, hiking together or learning certain skills. So using technology in that way can be super helpful. But yeah, YouTube videos. Guys, I have learned so much from YouTube. Seriously, that and courses.
Oh, and there's also a great like Udemy, Udemy. I'll put it here in the chat. There's Udemy and there's also Coursera. So these are free resources, and they have actual courses you can join. And this goes like beyond, like I've done courses on photography, learning Italian. I mean, there's so much. So regardless of what you're maybe, for any of you out there thinking about, like, I want to expand my knowledge, those are some other ideas that come to mind. Ashley, Alexa's asked, where do you turn for support those around you, when those around you use your weaknesses or struggles and emotions against you? How do you respond to that? How do you deal with that? What do you think, Ashley?
Where do you turn for support when people are using your weaknesses and struggles against you? Okay, so first of all, I'm really glad that you're identifying this, because that is the first step, okay? Realizing that you don't deserve to be treated this way and they are using your emotions against you. So there's varied levels of this. There is just, the kind of thing where it's not really abuse. It's just more so somebody's kind of a downer and they're just kind of, annoying, and they never have something positive to say. But then there's the other side of the scale where it's actually leaning into emotional abuse. And there's going to be different ways you're going to want to deal with something like that. But if we're talking about the situation where it's more of somebody in your life who maybe isn't being abusive, but they're just a downer, maybe it's time for you to find some new friends. And the same with if it's emotional abuse, maybe it's time for you to find new people to be around, because you cannot fix somebody who isn't willing to have insight into themselves. All you can do is you can protect yourself and stand up for yourself. And sometimes in relationships, you can say, hey, I'm setting a boundary. I don't appreciate you treating me this way. And this is what I expect of you now moving forward. That can work in some cases, but sometimes people will not respect your boundaries. You can go up to them and say, hey, this is really rude. It's hurting my feelings. It's putting me down. You're using this against me and I no longer accept that. And that person will get upset with you even more. They won't own that and they will just become more toxic or continue the same patterns. In those cases, it's really important to set the boundary back even further and be like, you know what, I can't continue submitting myself to this type of environment. With Courage 365, we have a Facebook group, and there's a lot of people who have gone through different types of abuses in there, a lot of people who have had emotional abuse. And if you want to reach out inside that group and get to know other people who get it and understand it, that can be super helpful. But the first step is really recognizing it. And then number two, seeing if you're able to set a boundary. And if that boundary is not respected, it's really going to be time for you to make a plan to exit out of those type of relationships, or at least distance yourself from them, because you don't deserve to have somebody constantly putting you down. That is not a healthy place to be.
Yeah, I have to ditto all of that. Ashley, will you put the link to your Facebook group there
Yes.
in chat?
Yes.
And I'm also going to put a link to my Facebook group. This group is a little bit around healing from sexual abuse, but it also is just a great space to come and be connected. So if you identify with that or not, it's okay. You can come hang out with us. And yeah, I think online spaces can be a great place to talk and get encouragement and support. Sometimes we need a little bit of bolstering and strategy and skill for how to step away from relationships that are harmful. I think particularly, for me, I mentioned earlier when I was sharing a little bit about my story that I spent 10 years in an abusive relationship, in which exactly that, right? My weaknesses, my struggles, the places where, I had a hard time, and certainly my feelings were used against me. And, I didn't leave that relationship. That my ex-husband, he ended the relationship, and there is a part of me that in many ways thinks, gosh, I might still be there today, because I did not have the self-resource, I didn't have the self-respect, I didn't have the sense of deservingness that I needed in order to really step away. Now, once he was out of the picture, sure as hell went and got some. I was like, okay, not doing that again. But I needed friends. I needed people around me who could really support me with that. And so finding just to reiterate, I think a little bit of what Ashley was saying, like we have to find the people who speak life into our lives and turn down the volume or even turn off the voices of those who are not doing that. So I hope you feel a little encouraged there and have some ideas for how you can build on that. Okay, we had a question coming in around anxiety. I feel anxious all the time. Yeah, I think what I would offer you about anxiety is that this particular feeling is always rooted, at least through my point of view, in fear and anticipation about what might happen. Not what has happened, not what is happening, but what might happen. And so I have two tips for you. First of all, what I would actually encourage you to do is to start doing what I call a feelings treasure hunt, and just throughout your day, really pause and check in with yourself and name and validate whatever that feeling is. By the way, anybody listening can go on a feelings treasure hunt if you want to like up level the work that we did around feelings today. Add this in. Okay. So you want to pause, like you can do it like morning, afternoon, evening. You can do it at various moments throughout your day. Just stop and check in. I'm feeling blank. It's okay that I'm feeling blank. What I have experienced in my life, and I see happen for my clients over and over again, is they have a sense of, I am always something. I'm always anxious. I'm always sad. I'm always overwhelmed. But when they begin to, kind of check in with themselves more, they notice they're feeling just way more feelings. Yeah. Ashley, what do you think about that?
Yes, that's all good stuff. I actually have an anxiety disorder, so I resonate with this question so much. And one thing I would say is that there are practical tips that you can use, such as, some grounding exercises where you can begin to kind of look at different points in the room and just focus on different inanimate objects that aren't moving and just kind of count slowly and focus on different spaces just to kind of reorient yourself to the room. Things like that can be helpful. Meditation has been super helpful for me, particularly guided meditation, not just silent meditation. I've also found that if you're in a place where you are able to receive physical touch, whether that is in the form of a massage from, either a loved one or a professional massage therapist, or even if it's just a big hug from a friend or loved one, that can be super helpful to calming anxiety. But the other thing is, I have anxiety medication. I have gone and spoken to both a therapist and a doctor, and I take anxiety medication daily. And I'm not saying that's right for everybody, but I am saying that sometimes you get to a point where medication can be super helpful, and there's nothing to be ashamed about that. There are natural tips and tools you can use. And also, we live in the age where we have access to tools like medication. So talking with your doctor about that, talking with a therapist or a psychiatrist can be helpful in those situations. Oh, somebody said weighted blanket. Yes, I have one and I sleep with it every night. I named her Luxie because she makes me feel luxurious.
Awesome. So a question about what if you hate meditation? Okay, so I think you might hate the word meditation and what you've been taught that meditation is. I think that meditation is not a let's sit on a pillow for 20 minutes and close our eyes and deeply breathe and have, deep insights. That is a form, a type of meditation. Meditation can be 20 seconds
of taking some breaths and just stopping. The Calm app, there's a teacher, I think his name is, what's his name? Jeff something. I love his perspective about meditation, that it is just any moment of being, and that our goal is to not actually stop to meditate. Our goal is to be meditative in the space of our lives. And so accessing moments of slowing down, what's the whole purpose of meditation? I think the better question then is to just ask yourself, like, what do I think meditation is supposed to give me or help me with? And what are ways of accessing that? So for example, meditation, I think one of the benefits of meditation is presence, being able to just be with what's happening. So being able to just stop and like, can you hear the things that are around you? This is actually one of the very first things we do at Emerge is practicing presence. And I take everybody through a really deep exercise there. But for me, presence can also be accessed through dancing. When I'm dancing, I'm just present. I'm not thinking about anything else but the music and the beat and the hey and the let's go and like all of that, right? And so maybe a good question to sit with is, what do I think, or what have I been told the purpose of meditation is? What are supposed to be the benefits? And are there ways to access it? So you can reframe meditation, expand it into being these other kinds of things, but you can also access the benefits through different avenues. That's my thought on it. Ashley, you want to add anything there?
Yeah, definitely. And you can create your own playlists where you dance to, like Rachel said, or you can also go to YouTube and type in meditative dance, and it gives you examples of how to move your body in different movements, and that physical movement can be a form of meditation, like Rachel said. Also, taking a walk, that is really awesome. Like just taking a walk and turning off your phone and not, listening to a podcast, but just being with yourself. Even if you have a 15-minute walk and only 5 minutes of that time, you're just by yourself without listening to a podcast or music or something like that. That can be a form of meditation for you. So meditation doesn't just have to be about your mind. It can be about moving your body in a way that's relaxing and in a way that you are paying attention to the body movements that you're having.
Awesome. I love the comments. Chris is like, I dance like no one's looking. Yes. Yeah, there are so many like really cool online communities now that are also doing dance collectively. So yeah, really good. How do you move forward regarding family that were not there for you? They instead were victim blaming and gaslighting, coming out of abuse. Do you go into this in the retreat? Okay. So there's two questions there. Do we cover this kind of topic in the retreat? And then how do you do these sorts of things? I would say, yeah, I think at Emerge, what we're really doing is looking at any of the places where you're feeling stuck or limited. And so if these family relationships and these family wounds are a place where you notice this is really stopping me and holding me back in some way, then the work that we'll do throughout the weekend will help to unlock that, to release that in a way that you can move forward. I think that family relationships are difficult because oftentimes they are the relationships that we continue to be in, that maybe we would choose not to be in. And sometimes that is actually the valid choice. So one way of moving forward sometimes is just, not having the relationship. If you aren't able to be healthy, if you aren't able to support me, then I just can't be in relationship with you. That isn't my favorite choice out there in the world, but it's a sometimes necessary and valid and important choice. Ultimately, when we have this sense of people who are supposed to be there, people who are supposed to protect us, people who are supposed to be on our side, and they weren't. Getting curious about what has that left me with? What have I come to think or know or believe about myself because of that? Because I wasn't cared for, because I wasn't nurtured, because I wasn't supported. And I would offer that the work is there. Maybe there's some work to do with the actual relationships, but more so the moving forward bit is about how do I really connect with the fact that these people did not have the capacity, for whatever reason, not to excuse it, but they did not have the capacity, the willingness to show up for me. And how do I go out and cultivate and craft the relationships in which I do feel seen and heard and valued? Yeah, that's what's coming to mind. What do you think, Ashley?
I agree with what you said. And a couple statements that I have heard so many times is, blood is thicker than water, or, family stays together and family always needs to have the other person's back. And those are just cliches, honestly, because who cares if blood is thicker than water? I mean, if somebody is treating you badly, it shouldn't matter whether you are genetically related to them or not. You have a right to put up boundaries in your life in the way that feels safe and comfortable for you. And so, like Rachel said, sometimes that means cutting them out completely. And for most of my family, that has been my experience of what I felt safest doing. For other people, there is that how can we live together and set boundaries, and do this in a way where I'm not being overwhelmed by what they're saying. I'm putting up a boundary of what they're allowed to do, say, and how they're allowed to act around me, what I'm willing to put up with, and communicating those boundaries clearly. But I think the big thing, and Rachel touched on this, is what do you want from this relationship? What do you want to achieve? And then what is realistic? Can they even offer you that thing that you want? Should they be able to? Yes, probably. But can they? And when you see that your expectation of what you want might be different from what they are actually in reality able to offer you, then that gives you an opportunity to do one of two things. Reset your expectations. And like Rachel said, maybe get those needs that you have that are legitimate needs met by somebody else, or realize this is just a mismatch and we're not even close on what I need and expect and what they're able to give me. And so this is no longer going to work, or it's not going to work in the way that it used to. But getting clear on what you want, not just what is not working, can help you make a plan moving forward for what you're willing to accept and the boundaries you're going to put up for yourself.
Beautiful. Yeah. Cheers to that. Not easy. And this is why we need to be empowered. This is why we need to have empowered women around us, right? Because walking this journey, man, there are challenges that we're all facing. So we encourage you and just send so much love. And if there's anything more we can do to support you around that, please let us know. One last question. If you are a current client of Rachel or Ashley's and wondering if attending the retreat would be okay, can I do that? Can I come? Yes. Yes. This retreat is really open to everyone. And again, it's open to all women, regardless if you have experienced trauma. And so this is such an opportunity to think of the women in your life who you think could also really benefit from this time and from the work that we're going to be doing over this 3-day weekend, and reel them in. And so we just want to take a moment as we start to wrap up today to thank all of you for being here. There's lots of things you could be doing on a Saturday, and I want you to just like give yourself a little pat, give yourself a little hug for investing in yourself today. You made a choice today to do that, and so that's worth like celebrating and rewarding. And we have just had such a lovely time here with you all. Thank you for tuning in and for sharing yourselves in the chat. I'd love for you to just pop in the chat one thing you're most, here's 2 questions. One thing you're most excited to practice. Like we've taught you a bunch of different little tools today. Like which one are you gonna like, I'm gonna for sure like practice that. And if there's anything that you're like most taking away or any final reflections, just go ahead and start popping those in. So we've got some breath work, gratitude. You're welcome. I'm so
Wonder
glad.
Woman.
Yes, Wonder Woman poses. Yeah, that's a good one. It's such a good one. Yeah, don't forget to yawn. Validating those feelings. Yes.
No, you're making me yawn again.
That's so good. You're so easy. I like it. It's just so easy to get. Yeah, thinking about what I want out of relationships. Yes, Lisa, great.
Body inventory. I like that one. Yes.
Awesome. Well, we are so glad that you are walking away with not just insight, but practical, real strategies that you can apply. And if you're ready to get and add even more to your toolkit, please make sure you jump on registering for the Emerge Retreat. We are here available via email to answer any of your questions. Sometimes as soon as we hang up after these calls, people are like, oh, wait, what about this? And what about that? So email us, connect with us in our Facebook groups and communities. And I would just love to, oh, Ashley, any final thought?
No, this is fantastic. I just love you all so much. And yeah, I wasn't sure how long we were going to go for Q&A, but you all asked incredible questions, and it's just been so much fun.
Indeed. So we send our love to all of you and blessings. And I'm just going to ask everybody to unmute in this moment so we can say goodbye and hear each other's voices. And thank you and blessings. Good night, everyone. Goodbye, everyone. Good afternoon.
Oh, good
Bye.
Rachel.
Good
Nice to meet you,
Bye.
Ashley.
Thank you.
Good night. Bye.
Love you
Thank
all. Mwah.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Love you too.